The thing is, truth always sounds clean before someone asks why you chose that room to say it in. 2 glasses. 1 question. No crime, at least not the kind a person can name while still holding a drink. I was only saying what had been sitting between us for months, or that was the sentence I kept using because it fit better than the other one. My name is Astrid Nielsen. I was 32, and I worked as a senior UX researcher for a dating app startup, which meant I got paid to make strangers reveal themselves without feeling trapped. I wrote prompts that sounded playful but opened places people usually kept locked. What kind of attention makes you feel chosen? What small lie did you tell this week? What do you want that you would not ask for sober? That should have made me more careful at home. Of course, it made me worse. Our apartment hallway smelled like wet umbrellas and the citrus cleaner I bought in bulk because the building lobby always smelled like old carpet. The matte black doorbell camera sat beside our front door, angled slightly down toward the welcome mat with the faded blue stripe. I used to call it Damon's little robot doorman. Damon was my husband. 38, calm, practical, and impossible to rush. He worked in network security, so he trusted systems, timestamps, backups, and quiet proof. He said the camera was not about control. He said a delivery driver had left our groceries in front of 4B twice, and he wanted the entryway safer. I heard control anyway. Years before, after we first moved in together, we played Truth or Dare on the floor because our couch had not arrived. Damon picked truth, and I asked what scared him most. He told me he hated being laughed at in public. Not disagreed with, not challenged, laughed at. His father used to do it at family dinners, and Damon said small laughter could make a man feel 6 years old. Back then, I touched his face and said I would never do that to him. The thing is, promises made on apartment floors sound different after 3 years of marriage. That Sunday, Damon adjusted the doorbell angle while I stood behind him holding a mug of cold tea. My phone lit up on the hallway console. Ravi had sent a photo from a work event, my face turned toward him under pink bar light. He wrote that I made every room less boring. I smiled before I meant to. Damon looked from the phone to me. He asked softly if I was happy lately. I told him I was tired. I was only saying what tired women say when the real answer would take too long. Later, while I brushed my teeth, the doorbell chimed on his phone. The app showed Ravi at our door at 10:46, holding my grey scarf. I had told Damon I came home alone. The thing is, there is a kind of lie that does not feel like lying while it is still small. 2 missed details. 1 scarf. No crime. I was only saying what protected the evening from becoming bigger than it needed to be. Monday morning, the office smelled like burnt coffee pods and the dry erase markers our product manager kept losing. On the kitchen counter, someone had left half a cinnamon bagel wrapped in a napkin from Pret. I remember the sesame seeds stuck to the cream cheese. I do not remember what I told myself while deleting Ravi's message from my lock screen. That part is gone. At 10, I sat in a research planning meeting about vulnerability prompts for first dates. Our lead designer wanted the questions to feel casual, like party games, not therapy. I said people answered harder questions if they believed they were choosing fun. Maya Voss looked at me over her laptop and smiled like she had heard something behind the sentence. Maya was my co-worker and closest social friend then. She had a careful apartment, a careful boyfriend, and a life full of beige choices she mocked but kept making. She liked me sharp because sharpness gave her something to watch. At lunch, she asked if the scarf man had made it home alive. I told her not to call Ravi that. She said Damon probably had a spreadsheet for emotional trespassing. I laughed too quickly. Of course I did. Laughing made the scarf smaller. Nina Cho was at the end of the table peeling the label off a sparkling water bottle. She had known me before Damon, before the startup, before I learned to make my eyeliner look effortless. She asked if Damon knew Ravi had come by. Calm question. Small voice. A real door. I said Damon knew everything because his little camera reported to him like a loyal employee. Nina did not laugh. The bottle label tore under her thumb and stayed stuck in two wet pieces. That evening, I met Ravi at a cocktail bar near King Street because he had photos from a user event and said I should approve the ones with our brand wall. The bar had green tile, brass lamps, and a bowl of olives nobody touched. Ravi wore a black jacket and smelled like cedar soap. He had the easy confidence of a man who had not been asked to carry anyone's mortgage, family grief, or broken dishwasher. He showed me a photo where I was laughing with my head tilted back. He said I looked like the only honest person in the room. That sentence went into me like heat. Damon would have said the lighting was flattering. He would have said the photo worked for the campaign. He would have been useful, and right, and careful. Ravi made it sound like I had been chosen from the crowd. At 9:18, Damon texted to ask if I was still at the office. I looked at the message while Ravi ordered another drink. The bartender was slicing lime wedges with a knife too large for the board. I typed that the team was still reviewing event assets. It was close enough to work to wear the same clothes. When I got home, Damon was at the kitchen table with his laptop closed. The microwave clock said 10:37. There was a plate for me under foil, rice and salmon with the little lemon slices he knew I liked but never squeezed enough. He asked about Ravi bringing my scarf. Specific and factual. He said the doorbell camera showed 10:46 the night before, and I had said I came straight home. He asked what happened. I heard surveillance. Not a husband trying to understand. Surveillance. I told him he had turned a forgotten scarf into a security incident. I told him women were allowed to have friends, co-workers, people who noticed when they left things behind. He said he had not asked if I was allowed. He had asked why I lied. That was too clean, too direct. No loose edge to pull. So I reached for the bigger wound. I told him he only cared because another man had seen me. I said he spent 3 years loving me through passwords, rent reminders, and quiet systems, then acted surprised when I liked someone looking up from the screen. He rubbed one thumb against the side of his water glass. He said he knew he was not loud. He said he was trying to ask before the quiet became worse. That should have softened me. Instead, I opened the refrigerator and stared at a jar of pickles, oat milk, and a takeaway box from Friday. My body needed something to do. I told him I had already eaten. I had not. The next day, Maya leaned against my desk with a protein bar and said stable men sometimes needed to be shaken awake. She said Damon had locked the whole marriage behind two-factor authentication. I told her that was cruel. Then I smiled, and she saw the smile. By Thursday, Theo Grant had invited us to his loft for drinks. Maya replied in the group chat before I did. She said we should play truth or dare and ban boring answers. Ravi added a camera emoji. Nina sent only a thumbs up, not her usual little joke. That night, Damon stood in the hallway under the doorbell camera and asked if I wanted to go to Theo's together. Soft, careful, still trying. I said of course. I was only saying what a wife says when she does not want the argument before the party. The camera gave one small electronic chime behind us, and Damon looked up at it before he looked at me. The thing is, a party game gives cruelty a costume. 2 drinks. 1 question. No crime because everyone agreed to play. I was only saying what the room had already been pretending not to hear. Theo's loft was above a framing shop, with tall windows, exposed pipes, and a heater that clicked every few minutes like it wanted attention. The place smelled like gin, pizza crust, and someone's expensive vanilla candle fighting for control. There were paper plates on the windowsill and a stack of cards from an old party game nobody used because Maya said real questions were better. Damon came with me. He wore a dark sweater I had bought him the previous winter, the one that made his shoulders look wider. On the train, he asked if Ravi would be there. He did not say it like a threat. He asked like a man checking weather before leaving the house. I said maybe, because Theo invited half the office circle. What I did not say was that Ravi had messaged me first to ask what I was wearing. I had not answered with words. I had sent a mirror photo from the hallway cropped above my mouth. At the loft, Nina hugged me and held on for 1 second too long. She smelled like rain and mint gum. Maya kissed both my cheeks, already bright from wine. Ravi lifted his glass from across the room when he saw me, not high, just enough for me to know the gesture was mine. Damon saw it too. Of course he did. Security people see patterns before people admit there is one. The game started after 10. Theo pushed the coffee table aside with his foot and told everyone to sit in a circle. Someone had spilled rosé on the rug, and Theo put a dish towel over it instead of cleaning it. That detail stays with me. The blue striped towel, the damp square under Maya's knee. I cannot remember who gave me my second drink. The first rounds were harmless enough. Maya admitted she had once lied about being sick to avoid a wedding. Theo dared Ravi to show the last photo on his camera roll, and it was a blurry street lamp. Nina picked truth and said she hated group trips because someone always turned into a manager. Then Theo looked at me. He asked what truth about my marriage I would never say sober. The room made a soft sound, not a gasp, not laughter, just bodies adjusting. Damon turned his head toward me. His face was open in a way that irritated me because it gave me a chance to be decent. I could have said marriage was harder than I thought. I could have said I missed being looked at. I could have said nothing useful and survived the night. Instead, I took the room. I said I had married safety, not desire. People laughed for half a breath because they thought I was starting a joke. Maya laughed first, sharp and relieved. Theo grinned at the floor. Ravi watched me over the rim of his glass. Damon did not move. The heat in my face felt like power, so I kept going. I said Damon was the kind of man women chose when they were tired of being disappointed. I said steady looked good on paper. I said sometimes steady felt like being filed away in the correct drawer. Nina's hand went to her necklace. Maya stopped smiling. Theo looked toward the kitchen as if he had left something there. I could have stopped then. The thing is, stopping would have proved I heard the damage. So I said some men could make a woman feel alive without needing a calendar invite. No one needed Ravi's name. His silence did the work. Damon looked at Ravi once, then back at me. He asked if we could talk in the hall. Quiet debrief. No raised voice. The quiet was the point. I heard control anyway. I told the room Damon was doing what he always did, turning feeling into a private review session. I said I was only saying what marriage made obvious if people were brave enough to admit it. That was when Damon placed his glass on the floor beside his knee. Not hard, not loud. He set it down carefully like the glass still deserved gentleness. He said I had once promised never to use that fear against him. He said I knew public laughter did something to him. He said I had turned it into entertainment because people were watching. The heater clicked above us. A scooter passed on the street below. Someone's phone buzzed on the windowsill and nobody picked it up. For a few seconds, the loft lost its shape. Damon was not the quiet husband I had been building my defense around. He was the man on our old apartment floor telling me a thing he hated about himself, trusting me because my hand was on his cheek and there were no witnesses. I saw that floor. I saw the cheap lamp with no shade. I saw his mouth trying to smile after saying the word laughed, like he was embarrassed even in private. The card game sat between us, stupid and bright. My drink sweated into my palm. Nina's necklace chain made a tiny sound under her thumb. The door opened in me. Small, plain. I had not told the truth. I had staged a wound and called the staging honesty. I had not been brave. I had been accurate with the knife because he had handed me the map. Then Maya shifted beside me, and Ravi looked down like he did not want the room to find him responsible. I closed the door. I told Damon the game was called Truth or Dare, not comfort or apologize. I said if truth embarrassed him, maybe that was because it finally had witnesses. Maya looked at me then, not with delight. Something smaller, less useful. Damon stood. He thanked Theo for having us. He asked me if I was coming home with him. I said not if he planned to punish me with silence the whole ride. Wrong answer, not the loudest, just wrong. He nodded once and left without his coat. Nina grabbed it from the chair and followed him to the stairs. Ravi stayed seated. That should have told me something about the kind of man I had made into proof. Outside later, Maya and I stood on Theo's steps while she ordered a car. The night smelled like wet pavement and fried chicken from the shop below. I told her Damon would turn this into a moral injury. I told her if I said it as truth, he could not call it cruelty. Maya looked past my shoulder and said, maybe some truths were chosen for where they landed. I laughed because she sounded like Nina. When I reached home, the doorbell camera blinked blue above the welcome mat. I did not remember it had audio. The thing is, home makes a public sentence smaller and uglier at the same time. 2 pillows. 1 guest room door. No crime because no one at home was clapping. I was only saying what I had been trying to say for months, only now everyone acted like I had invented pain for sport. Damon slept in the guest room that night. He did not slam a door or make me chase him. He took 1 pillow, his charger, and the old black laptop he used for work emergencies. The guest room still had a broken blind and a stack of printer paper near the radiator. He placed his things around them like he was borrowing space from a polite stranger. I stood in our bedroom with my dress still on and cleaned out the top drawer of my nightstand at 1:12 in the morning. Receipts, lip balm, a dead pen from a hotel, 1 packet of throat sweets melted at the corners. My hands needed work. My mouth had already done enough. In the morning, Damon made coffee for himself. He did not make mine. That was the first domestic fact that had no argument inside it. He stood by the sink and said it was not one answer at Theo's. It was the scarf, the lies around Ravi, the way I made him look foolish for asking any husband's question, and the way I used his old fear when the room could hear. Naming the pattern, not one incident, calm enough to make me want to break a plate. I told him he was building a case because he did not know how to have a feeling without organizing it. He said he was trying not to make the feeling uglier than it already was. That answer had nowhere useful to go. My phone buzzed with a message from Amara, Damon's sister. She asked me to come by after work. Not if I was free, not with a smile, just a time and an address I already knew. Amara lived in a townhouse with yellow tulips in a jar by the front door and children's shoes lined up under a bench. Her hallway smelled like lemon floor cleaner and toast. She opened the door in socks, which made the whole thing worse. Judgment in socks is harder to fight than judgment in heels. She asked why her brother had to be humiliated before I could feel visible. Calm, direct, too close. I said she had only heard Damon's version. She said she had heard Nina's too. Then she said Theo had posted nothing, which meant the room itself knew the night was not funny. I reached for my one clean truth. I told her Damon made me feel like a risk to manage. I said he loved through locks, reminders, calendar holds, and quiet plans. But sometimes I felt like a task he had completed. The thing is, that was not false. Damon had missed my launch party for a security emergency and then tried to make it up with dinner at home, as if public absence could be repaired with private salmon. Amara did not deny it. She said Damon could be late to the language people needed from him. She said that still did not make him a prop in mine. A kettle clicked behind her. One of her children called from upstairs about a missing sock. The interruption gave me time to put my face back together. Real life has terrible timing and sometimes mercy. I left before tea. At work the next day, Nina asked me to walk for coffee. We went to the place with tiny metal tables and croissants that always looked better than they tasted. She stirred her cappuccino until the foam tore open. She said the room at Theo's did not hear honesty. It heard punishment. I told her everyone had become dramatic because Damon stayed quiet enough to look noble. Nina said quiet was not the same as noble. Then she asked why I needed Ravi there for the sentence to work. I answered the wrong question. I said Ravi was not the issue. After that, Nina stopped sending me voice notes. She replied with sentences that had periods. Maya was slower too. Still present, still friendly, but thinner. When I sent her a meme about men treating boundaries like software updates, she reacted with a small grey heart instead of laughing. I told myself she was busy. Of course I did. At home, I tried a softer tactic with Damon. Controlled partial truth. I sat at the kitchen table, touched the edge of his sleeve, and said I was sorry the game went too far. I said I missed being desired. I said I did not want our marriage to become two people maintaining an apartment. Those parts were true enough to stand on. Then I ruined them. I added that maybe the night hurt, because it named what he had refused to see. Damon pulled his sleeve gently away. Not fast. Not dramatic. He said I was apologizing to the audience, not to him. The microwave clock said 8:03. A delivery scooter hummed outside. The doorbell camera chimed once from his phone, probably another package, but he did not open the app in front of me. Later, when he thought I was in the shower, I saw him at his desk. The door was half open. He had the doorbell camera app open and a folder on his desktop with dates as file names. Not titles. Dates. 10-46 scarf. Theo night porch. Front step Thursday blank. He saved the clips one by one. I told myself he was proving my point. Systems. Records. Evidence of feeling instead of feeling itself. The next morning, the shared login no longer worked on my phone. The app asked for a password. I laughed too loudly in the hallway and told the empty apartment that Damon had finally married the camera. But inside the walls, something had moved beyond argument. The thing is, when a quiet person stops asking questions, the silence can feel like permission if you need it badly enough. 2 unread messages. 1 porch light. No crime, because I still had my key. I was only saying what Damon had forced me to show him by refusing to see me any other way. Thursday night smelled like rain on warm pavement and the garlic fries from the pub near Ravi's studio. I had not planned to bring him to the apartment at first. That is what I told myself on the walk. The plan had been drinks, maybe a cab, maybe one last conversation where someone looked at me without making me explain why I needed looking at. But Damon had stopped asking where I was going. No soft question from the hallway. No check-in text. No careful attempt to open a door without touching the handle. He had become logistical. Towels moved from our bathroom to the hall closet. His charger stayed in the guest room. The doorbell app stayed locked behind his new password. It should have scared me. Instead, I called it emotional theatre. Ravi walked beside me with his hands in his jacket pockets. He had been quieter all evening. At the pub, he kept checking his phone when I talked about Damon. When I said Damon was making the apartment feel like a monitored building, Ravi said he did not want to become part of a marriage problem. I laughed because it sounded too late for dignity. He said he meant it. He had clients, shared friends, work that depended on people not turning his name into gossip. That was his real shape showing. Ravi liked being wanted, but not when desire came with paperwork, families, or rooms that remembered. I told him he was safe. I said Damon needed to see the kind of man who did not make me beg to feel alive. Ravi did not answer. He walked me anyway. Our building entry smelled like damp mail and the lavender plug-in from 3C. The porch light had a moth tapping itself against the glass. The matte black camera sat beside the door, blue ring dark for the moment. I knew it was there. That was the point I would not name. Ravi stopped one step below me and asked if I was sure. I said Damon understood systems better than feelings, so maybe he needed visual data. The blue light woke. Ravi looked at it. His mouth tightened. I could have stepped away. I could have said goodnight. I could have let the camera capture nothing but 2 people standing with rain on their sleeves. Instead, I moved closer to Ravi. Not a kiss. Not anything that could be called passion in a film. Just close enough for the frame to make a suggestion. Close enough for Damon to watch and fill in the blank. Damon opened the door before I rang. He was wearing the grey t-shirt he usually slept in and dark trousers, like he had been sitting awake but not waiting. His face did not look surprised. That was the worst part. Surprise would have meant I still had power. He looked at Ravi first, then at me, then at the camera. He asked me to come inside alone and tell him one version of the truth without Ravi, Maya or an audience. Final and clean. One real offer. No second version. I heard him trying to take the stage away, so I stayed on the porch. I gave him the truest sentence I had. I said he had made me feel like a risk to manage, not a wife he was afraid to lose. He did not answer quickly. The rain made dark dots on the concrete between us. Somewhere upstairs, a television laugh track ran through an open window and stopped. Damon looked down at his hands, then back at me. He said he had failed me there. No defense, no correction, no neat system for escaping it. He gave me the truth, and for 1 second I had nowhere to put my anger. So I sharpened it. I said Ravi had seen me faster in 2 weeks than Damon had in 3 years. I said some men did not need a calendar invite to make a woman feel wanted. I said I was only saying what he already knew. Ravi took 1 step back, small, clean, self-protective. Damon saw it. So did the camera. He said he would handle things properly. That was all. No threat. No legal words. No raised voice. Just a sentence placed exactly where it belonged. I told him proper was his favorite way to avoid being human. Wrong response. Again. Damon stepped aside, not to invite me in, only to remove himself from the doorway. I walked past him because I still had the key, still had my name on the lease, still had enough pride to mistake entry for safety. Ravi did not follow. Inside, the hallway smelled like cedar shoe spray and the basil plant Damon had moved from the kitchen window. His laptop was open on the small desk. The screen had gone black. I could see my own shape in it, stretched and dark. Damon closed the door behind me. The quiet inside the apartment was not empty. It was full of things already decided. I went into the bathroom and sent Maya 3 voice notes. In the first, I said Damon had ambushed me with calm. In the second, I said Ravi was being strange. In the third, I laughed once and told her the whole marriage had become a security incident. All 3 went to read. No answer came. That gap was smaller than a fight and worse than one. Ravi texted after midnight. He said he did not think coming to the door had been smart. Then he said he did not want to be named in whatever came next. No sweet line, no photo, no proof I had been chosen. Damon stood at the entry table at 12:22 and removed his house key from his keyring. He placed it in the blue ceramic bowl where we kept spare coins and old receipts. The camera app chimed softly on his phone. He did not open it. That was the silent decision marker. A key in a bowl. Nothing more. Of course, I told myself he wanted me to notice. He went into the guest room and closed the door without looking back. The thing is, public rooms only feel powerful until they stop belonging to you. 2 clients by reception. 1 envelope. No crime I could joke into another shape. I was only saying what I had always said, but the paper in my hand had timestamps. Monday morning, our office lobby smelled like floor polish and burnt espresso from the machine near the lifts. I wore a cream blazer and carried a folder for a user interview about honest, emotional disclosure. Maya's desk was visible past the glass doors. She looked down when I walked in. A woman near reception asked for Astrid Nilsson. I corrected my grip on the folder before answering. She handed me a large envelope and a small screen for my signature. My name looked too formal in black letters. Astrid Nilsson, Okafor. I had stopped using the last part at work because it was long. Nina stood by the lift with 2 coffee cups. She did not move closer. I signed with my finger. The line came out crooked. Then I thanked the woman because people thank strangers who hand them things in public. Inside the envelope was a petition for dissolution of marriage, a request for temporary exclusive use of the apartment, and temporary financial orders. The words were plain. Not angry. That made them worse. The document listed doorbell camera footage by date. Ravi returning my scarf after I said I came home alone. My voice on Theo's steps saying that if I called it truth, Damon could not call it cruelty. The porch video where I brought Ravi to our door and said Damon needed visual data. The receptionist asked if I wanted to sit down. Not kindly, not coldly. just true because I was still standing in the walkway with the envelope open. Ravi sent one message before lunch. He wrote that he never agreed to be part of my divorce, then his profile picture disappeared. After that, the facts arranged themselves without asking me. Damon stayed in the apartment under the temporary order, and I moved into a short-stay studio with a kettle that smelled like burnt plastic. Half the joint account was restricted until review, and my card declined once at Tesco while a teenager waited to scan my spinach. Amara blocked my number. Theo deleted the party thread. Nina sent one message saying she wished I had stopped when the room went quiet. And Maya never answered the voice notes. Ravi's name became something people avoided saying near me. At work, my manager moved me off the trust campaign and told me to take personal days in a voice built for glass rooms. I had believed witnesses made a feeling real. I had believed a truth said in public could not be taken from me. But the camera had been a witness too. It did not care how I sounded, how hurt I had been, or which sentence was partly right. It kept the shape of what I chose. The matte black doorbell camera lit blue when I stood outside the apartment for the last time. Damon did not open the door.